Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater from RunBlogRun. It's your favorite program of the week, Athletics Chat. It's number 30.
30?
Yeah, 30. Stuart, pretty impressive. And there's our knowledgeable friend, Stuart Weir, with all his books behind him in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. And I'm back in San Jose, California, the lockdown capital of the USA. I got in yesterday, and they locked everything down at 10 p.m. Coincidence? I think not. Stuart, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing well. We're sort of in lockdown, but it's okay. I mean, apparently tomorrow, some people in my city are going to be vaccinated. The first vaccinations are taking place tomorrow.
Cool.
But I don't expect to get it until the new year. But it's the one advantage of being what the government defines as old, is that you're a higher priority for getting the vaccine.
Well, you're a special priority for us. And I don't think you're old. You know, you act like you're 15 most of the time. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you're starting vaccines. Yeah, we're still, there's a little issue over here. One of the delivery programs that was supposed to deliver some of the vaccine, they're not going to be able to deliver 100 million, just 50 million, and that's delayed a little bit. So we will see what goes on. And it's just, and right now we know that 21% of Americans will not take the vaccine, period. I'm comforted because I thought it was more like 50, but we shall see. You know, I just hope people stay safe, and that's all we can ask for. So our first subject for week 30 is British Athletes of the Year, Jake and Gemma. Why don't you tell us about Jake and Gemma?
Well, yes, this is Athletics Weekly, but you can't really call it Athletics Weekly because there's no Athletics Monthly, but it calls itself AW. And it's the readers of the magazine who voted the two Athletes of the Year as Jake and Gemma. Jake Whiteman, of course, is well known to RunBlogRun. He's done a socially distance. I've written about him. And Jake's reaction to this was to put on Twitter, so thankful they didn't count the postal votes.
He has a sense of humor, a more global one.
So I responded, stop the count, stop the count. But yeah, I mean, the thing about this year is that it hasn't been a level playing field. Some people have been able to compete more than others. But I mean, Jake did run that 3:29.47 in Monaco, which is faster than a certain Mr. Coe, Mr. Cram, or Mr. Ovid ever ran.
Yes.
And so I have no objection at all to him. I mean, he particularly as his aim for the season was to run 800s to try and develop his top end speed. And he won the Ostrava Golden Spike in 1:44.18, which is not a bad time for somebody who just does 800s in his spare time.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know, he came fifth in Doha, and sort of just felt that he was so close to a medal but didn't quite get it. And so he and his coach, also his father, had just been thinking about what do we need to do to move from being a really good athlete to being a podium athlete. And incidentally, talking about Jeff Whiteman, I don't know whether you've noticed, but you've actually started quite a stir on social media by describing him as charming. Others have picked this up. Yeah. Catherine Mary picked this up and said, Jeff will like being called charming. So I thought I had to point out that in my article that you were referring to, I had not mentioned charming.
Charming, yes, it's true. I added that in. That was my misnomer, sorry.
And both Kath and Jeff have responded to that, noting that you may think he's charming, but I had not actually written this. So there we are.
Okay, well then I will stir something up again with that later today. Thank you. And I did enjoy the Jeff piece. Yeah, Gemma. Go on. Tell us about Gemma.
Yeah, I mean, Gemma has had the most amazing season, really. You know, she had eight races in 7 weeks, 5 800s, 3 1500s, and 1,000. She finished up winning the Diamond Leagues in Stockholm and Rome. She ran a big PR at 800 of 1:57.91. And then in the Melrose Games, she ran, she was half a second outside breaking 4 minutes. So it's just been a great season for her. She's currently in South Africa with Laura Muir.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's interesting that Laura Muir ran a 3:58 and two 3:57s, and yet didn't get Female Athlete of the Year.
Yeah. What do you think that's about?
Well,
are they just trying to get it around other people, or what?
Well, I mean, it's a public vote, so who knows? But I mean, Laura is such a lovely person that she will be delighted for Gemma.
Yeah.
And will not be at all worried by this. I mean, one of the pieces that I wrote, like they've got a piece I sent you on Gemma for this week, which I found was quite hilarious. The idea of it's okay being training partners, but what's it like to race against each other? And do you tell each other your race plan? And I mean, Gemma was quite clear on this. She says, well, I don't know anyone else's race plan, so why should I know Laura's?
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It'll be interesting to see if the two of them make a final together in Tokyo or somewhere, how they'll run. Yeah. I mean, again, Laura says, I like having Gemma with me in a prelim because we'll run together. We'll work out what we need to do, and she'll go ahead of me for a bit, and I'll go ahead of her for a bit, and we'll get both of us through to the next round. But if it's a final, and you know, one of them feels that their best chance of winning is to go early, and the other one thinks a sprint finish suits them, it'd be fascinating to see how that plays out.
Yeah, because you think about what each one of them, their skills are, and I'm trying to think. I would see Laura likes to pick it up from about 500 out, and Gemma has this lovely finish. I mean, she's very, very fast. And it could be an exciting race to watch, you know.
Laura is very thoughtful, because I've talked to her about you say picking it up at 500. She'll do that if she thinks there's someone in the race who might outsprint her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she say, well, I'm not going to put myself in a position where this race comes down to the last 200 meters.
Yeah.
If there's somebody who may be faster than me. So I'll try and take it from 500.
Yeah.
And sort of run the strength out of that other girl's legs, so that she's not in a position to sprint with me.
That makes it work. You know, I think that's very so that's awesome. Jake Whiteman and Gemma Ricci are the British Athletes of the Year. We also had awards over the weekend for the World Athletes of the Year, Mondo Duplantis and Yulimar Rojas. What do you think about them?
Well, I don't think anyone can object to Mondo Duplantis. 16 competitions in the year, 16 wins, 10 times over 6 meters. I mean, 10 times over 6 meters in 1 year. 6:18 in Glasgow, and I was privileged to be there to see that. And then 6:15 in the Golden Gala, which I know you and I don't really agree with this, but we now have the situation where 6:18 is the world record, and 6:15 is not a world record. It's the highest ever outdoors.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to give him 2 world records. I wish Orco would come to our way of thinking. You know, we solve many of the world's problems, and I think this one will be solved perfectly by that. Yulimar Rojas, what do you think of Yulimar Rojas?
Well, isn't it a bit perverse in the year that the Diamond League has told us that the triple jump is not important, that the athlete of the year is a triple jumper?
That's true.
Hers is less straightforward. Like she's won 4 out of 4, and she's twice jumped more than 15 meters, which is phenomenal. But in a way, she's dominated an event without a lot of competition.
Yeah.
How do you
Yes.
compare Faith Kipyegon, who's had 5 wins at 800, at 1,000, at 1,500, up against some really top athletes running 1:57.68 in the 800, which is not her event. So I think there would have been a good case for her. But, Elaine Thompson was one of the shortlisted, and she did one or two excellent races, but then she didn't have any competition. I mean, remarkably, there isn't an American woman who went under 11 seconds this year. And
it's very strange. Yeah, very few top American women sprinters even competed, and
yeah, exactly. So therefore, you can't blame Thompson for not going faster because she didn't have the competition. But it's a hard year. I don't begrudge Rojas, but she wouldn't have been my choice.
Okay. Yeah, well, I like Mondo. I agree with you that Mondo is a perfect choice for the men. I think I think we're going to see him around for a long, long time. One of the questions I'd love to ask him is, obviously, you'll be around through 2028. What about 2036? Are you going to think about that long? And who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah, but also, just a quick comment on Mondo. For those of us who have the privilege of being backstage, he is always a delight to talk to, and he's always happy to talk.
Yes,
last time I saw him was in France, and I mean the mix zone was actually embarrassing because there were so many people wanting selfies with him, and he was actually tolerating this. And then when I asked him a question, he seemed, golly, somebody wants to talk to me about pole vaulting.
Yeah, what a concept, right?
Yeah.
I was happy with Jake and Gemma in the British Athletes of the Year. I like Jake Whiteman. I've known him for a long time. Gemma, I have not been fortunate enough to meet. Someday I will. On the World Athlete stage, Mondo, I've met a few times. I like him. Really like his parents. Like how they protect him, how they've allowed him to be a kid. Yeah. And as he's getting to be, a young adult now, he's really showing his class. And he is one of the most competitive people I have ever had the privilege of meeting. It's amazing. I also think that Yulia Maroha, and I've got to see her in 2019. I got to watch her jump in Madrid and sat with her coaches, and that was a lot of fun. And really gained a respect for her. I always thought she was a tremendous athlete, but she really gets her craft, and she's really trying to do it better. And I think that's really impressive. So I thought that, and I've spent a little bit of time watching the awards for the World Athletes of the Year. I think that they did it right in terms of streaming video and things like that. But how are we going to continue to increase people using streaming video without doing events like this? So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how things change after post-pandemic. And I think right now we're in this weird bubble because I think that people are getting the ends of the rope about being locked down, and we've still got a whole winter to go.
Tell me, I do hope you dressed properly for the awards. I hope you were in your tux and everything. My
tux was at the cleaners, but I did wear a nice suit, and I had a pocket square nicely done. So
because
they might have let me.
I thought it was hilarious. There were people posting on social media photographs of themselves as if they were in Monaco, all dressed up.
Wow. Yeah, some people have got to get a life, I think, Stuart. It's just kind of scary sometimes.
I think so.
It's just, and I know we can talk because we, talk about track all the time. The new Diamond League format is same as it ever was, as that song by the Talking Heads went. All 32 disciplines are back in, with the exception of the hammer throw. Is that correct?
Yeah. But I mean, it's a bit hilarious, really, after all the faffing around and how they offended so many people by taking their discipline out, only to put it all back in again.
Yeah, I think it's very, very bizarre. I applaud the Diamond League for trying something new. That's always important. I just wondered who they consulted to think that there wouldn't be screaming triple jumpers out there. My gosh, it just, it's just a challenge, and it will continue to be. But the diamond.
I just going to say, I'm sure you'll agree with me. I would just like to pay tribute to Christian Taylor for the eloquent way and the dignified way he made the case for the triple jump. Politely but firmly, not in an offensive way or anything, but just he made his case.
I think you're right about that. I think that Christian was always open and talking to us. The statement from the Athletes Association was very well written, very well edited. So, we're going to be posting that. But no, I think they've handled it well. And I think they showed that to have a public inquiry, a public discussion, you got to show some class, and they did. And they ultimately achieved what they wanted. So I think that's pretty awesome. Shoes. Will all distance world records be broken?
Well, I mean, shoes is something that I really get bored talking about. But you just have to ask the question, are we in a situation now that we almost need two world records? Before the new fast shoes and afterwards.
Yeah.
Just this week we've seen some fantastic times. And
those half marathons were pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I know you could say that the feet have to be in them going fast, but it does seem that there's a significant advantage. And of course, I mean, where do you draw the line? Because I mean, I heard, if you go back to when you in particular started watching the sport, the footwear was very rudimentary. Now, I once had a fascinating presentation by Fosbury about how he and Adi Dassler designed shoes for high jumping because none existed.
Wow.
And so when you actually think, well, I mean, that's all right. I mean, but I mean, perhaps the people who were just jumping in sneakers suddenly saw Fosbury in his special high jump shoes, might have thought, hey, you're cheating, that's an advantage. So where do we draw the line?
Well, I remember with, I think it was Valerie Bromell, the Soviet Union high jumper, used a shoe that was banned and his world record didn't take effect. And I'm not sure, I think there were springs in the heel. So there was something with it that it was banned. The great Australian runner Ron Clark broke 28 minutes for 10K in 1965, July of 65. In order to get that race on the schedule, he had agreed to run a 3,000 meter the next day against the best guys and guys all rested. And I think he finished third in that race. But he broke the world record on a track that wasn't even artificial. It was almost a gravel track. And he believed that a new track was the difference in a second or a possibly second and a half per lap in a 10,000 meters. If you take the Mondo tracks, you take the new shoes, and you take these super new shoes now, which it's like, and I know it's not true, but world records are coming, especially with the distance races, much more frequently than anything I could ever have imagined. And it's almost getting to the point where it's ludicrous. And world records are made to be broken, as we say, but they don't need to be broken so often. That's my beef. I'm reading through the press release today, and this goes back to the 1970s when Runner's World was doing shoe reviews. And there was a shoe made for Waldemar Sapinski. It was the Adidas 76, I believe. It was a nice little racing flat. And they improved the shoe a little bit and sent, like the other brands were doing, not models off production as they were supposed to, but models that were tweaked. And what's been happening with racing now is that everybody's looking for the next up. So there's shoes that are in production that the last one will maybe faster than the first one. And right now, World Athletics is going to say, okay, we're going to give you a list of all the shoes that are cool for you to compete in, and you can make the decision. Well, most elite athletes have at least one shoe. Many of them have 2 or 3 or 4. And these new shoes do affect your running. And I think they give you a false sense of security. I don't think people are as fast as they think they are. But I'm not sure what to do about it. And so this afternoon, I'm going to be talking to an expert, someone who's been at 4 shoe companies, and pick his brain a little bit and see what he thinks. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, like, it's not just our sport, because, in golf, there's this issue that people are hitting the ball so much further than they used to. And Jack Nicklaus saying, we've got to introduce a ball that doesn't go as far. Otherwise, the game will just be ruined. That the traditional famous golf courses are not long enough. And if there isn't space to make them longer, then they will be obsolete, and therefore we got to change and have a ball that doesn't go as far. So it's not just our sport that's wrestling with the technology. And of course, the only reason that the shoe manufacturers are making new shoes all the time is because they want to sell them to the club runners where they make their money.
Yeah. Well, in the early 1980s, Uwe Hohn, East German javelin thrower, destroyed the world record. And he was the last guy to break the world record for the new javelin cane. They thought that with the old javelin, these guys were getting to where they figured it out and they could throw over 330 feet, which is the length of an American football field and a little longer than a soccer pitch. Miklos Nemeth came along and took the 3 pieces of metal that are used to make any javelin, and he fine-tuned it, and these babies were flying. So the technical people had to go back and weight the javelin in such a way that it's virtually next to impossible to get it to go 320, 330 feet. They don't want to go longer than the courses and everything they have set up now. I don't know what I suspect what the right answer is. I'm just not sure I've got it. And I think that we want to see progress, but world records are hard. And right now they're coming as often as someone getting a candy bar. So they're not that exciting. Joshua Cheptegei, Joshua broke the 5,000 record and the 10,000 this year. Brutal records. They were held by Kennedy Sibakele. He made them look easy. Was it the shoes? No, I think it was the 12 to 15, 10,000 or 1,000 meter repeats he was doing in Uganda, and all the other stuff he did. Joshua Cheptegei is a beastmaster. He is tough, but the shoes added something. What did the shoes add? Was it he broke the world record in the 10,000 by what? Less than 3 seconds, and in the 5,000 by close to 3 seconds. So it's tough. It's really tough. But records are supposed to be tough. And I wonder sometimes they said, okay, here's all the world records. And if you're going to break it, this is the shoe, this is the track you got to do, this is the weather you got to do to have it. That's silliness. It's all about creating the perfect storm. It's about being in a big race and you get the lead and you decide to throw your fear away and you pull a Dave Moorcroft. And for 3 laps, no one knows what the hell you're doing. And you are running close to 4-minute mile pace. And first they thought you were a rabbit. And then they figured out Dave's really gone crazy this time. But Dave's not going crazy. I mean, I remember watching that race, and with 600 to go, you knew he had it. No one was going to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran the perfect 13-minute 5,000 meters. And good on David. But that didn't come in one night. You know, Derek Clayton told me he met David when he was in his mid-teens, and David was already doing 18-mile Sunday runs with the club.
Yeah.
So he developed that. The guy was 33 or 34 when he set the record. I like seeing stories like that. That stuff makes me feel like it's a great challenge. And don't get me wrong, Joshua's brilliant with the 5,000, 10,000 meter run. And I believe even if he had the old shoes, he would have done it. But
Yeah.
we're playing with fire. This is going to hurt the sport. If records get too frequent, it'll take away from the sport. Part of this, the sachet, part of the fun about it all is that it took a while to get John Walker. John Walker busted his chops when he broke 350. I remember that in August in 1975 in Malmo. I still got the picture somewhere from the Mercury News. I thought it was totally cool. But Jim Ryan held the two records for a while, then Philbert Bailly, then it was set again. And so what are we going to do next year? Have 5 or 6 records? You know, I had a conversation with Jos Hermans last week and was asking him about the lights. And he said, yeah, the lights help. He says, I just don't know much. He said, he thinks they help the pacer better than the actual athletes. And he has a point. But I don't mind record attempts. I remember Ovett and Co. going at it back and forth for a while in different races. You know, Andy Norman, the British promoter, really did this stuff well. I only got to talk to him once before he died, and I wish I'd have had a few conversations because I found him fascinating. But Coe would attempt a record and not get it. Ovett would attempt a record and not get it. They'd go back and forth for 3 or 4 weeks, and boom, one of them would get it. But there was a buildup. There was excitement. There was anticipation. And we were getting our information from newspapers, or if we were lucky in the U.S., Howard Cosell would come on the Wild World of Sports, and I got to see the 4-minute, the 350 mile by John Walker. I remember watching Dick Berkeley break the world record for the 1,500 meters indoors. It took him 18 hours to fly from Buffalo to Baltimore, Maryland, I believe. He then had a jog from his hotel, and he got to the line of the race less than 2 minutes before the race. Those are great stories, and that's the kind of stuff that, Stuart, you and I love writing about. And my concern is one brand does it, another brand does it. I remember about 2 years before Eliud Kipchoge broke the 2-hour marathon, which I know it hasn't been legally done, but you know, Eliud has come pretty darn close. And I remember talking to a competitive brands, and I said, "How do you break 2 hours and for a marathon?" And the guy looked at me. This is the highest global marketing guy in his brand, and he said, "You get up on the top of the Empire State Building and you just drop them. They'll go under 2 hours." And I was just kind of going, "Okay." So he doesn't think it's real. Essentially, what they did with these shoes, it was the equivalent of coming down from something really high. It was the equivalent of picking up speed. It reduces. There's energy return that was Reebok first talked about it back in the 90s. And we all thought it was kind of BS. But energy return's a big deal. And what these shoes do, and Paula Radcliffe gave this to me. She said, "Larry, what's significant about the shoes is that in the mid part of the race, you're not getting as fatigued. Your hamstrings aren't as beat up. Your thighs aren't as beat up. So when it comes to put yourself into a kick mode, you can actually do it. You have something left." I think that sounds really good. I think it sounds very plausible. I think there's something else, though. Joshua Cheptegei broke the world record for the 5,000 by about 1.5 seconds and the 10,000 by about, I think, 4 seconds. Both totally different races, both with the same outcomes. Joshua Cheptegei looking like he was about for a Sunday stroll, having run the fastest time I'd ever seen, fastest race I'd ever seen. I want to see some of the drama built up, and these shoes are taking away the drama. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Occasionally I do, Stuart. It doesn't often, but the thing is my son or my brother got me 2 pounds of Lavazza Crema coffee, which is the best espresso coffee around. He sent it to Wisconsin. It got there the day before I left. I packed it up and brought it out here. I was afraid TSA was going to take it away because apparently drug dealers use coffee grounds to throw the dogs off. And so when they find big bags of coffee, a lot of times they just confiscate it. But I've been drinking some very fine coffee, and my brain is somehow engaged. It'll probably be engaged for the next 3 days. So, we'll Mike will find a way to utilize that. Any other things that have come to mind for you about this week? Any other thoughts on our topics right now?
No. Later this week, I'm speaking to Christian Malcolm, the new head coach of British Athletics, and that will be interesting. He did a kind of press briefing last week, but I sort of felt he kept his cards pretty close to his chest. But perhaps in a one-to-one, he'll reveal more.
Have you chatted with him before?
Not in any depth.
Okay. What is he getting a lot of static from the British media?
No, there's been really very little about it. I mean, I don't know. It's a funny situation. Jo Coates, in her first briefing, talked a lot about diversity. And her first 2 big appointments have been a woman and a black man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she feels that these were the 2 best candidates.
Sure.
But it helps her narrative.
Yeah, it does. And I share with you the thought about giving Jo Coates some room, and I really would like to meet her. I think she's very thoughtful. I think she's approaching this, but I also worry that she has been given a thankless task. British athletics had been doing well for a while, but the writing was on the wall. There's some changes the past couple people did. Well-meaning. I can't judge people. I'm learning in my old age that everybody means well, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. And right now, British athletics has some challenges in front of it. You guys have got great athletes. My gosh, it continues to astound me. And I cannot think of one of your top athletes who doesn't really thoughtfully look at their event, doesn't like the sport they're involved. They know how to talk to the fans, but also give themselves some distance so there's some privacy. I think those things are really important in this day and age. And they also know that they're meant to be entertainers too. They're sports entertainers, and they get it. When you try to get interviews with them, I don't think you've had anybody tell you no. And I think that's fantastic. But we wish British athletics all the very best, but we're just concerned a little bit. And I don't know how else to say it. But at least you guys are doing something over there. I don't hear squat from USATF, and I've got people there I dearly love. But I'm telling you, we don't even, you know how you will forward on to me press releases from British athletics? In the U.S., 4 years, even though top journos, Olympic journalists, complained, USATF stopped emailing releases out to us. We've got to go find them. So I don't know if anything's happened or not, except I check it out from Twitter. Now they handle Twitter well, but I still kind of go, what British Athletics has always done, and I'm afraid this is in jeopardy, is they put information in front of us so we could do our job.
Can I just throw a $64,000 question at you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, sure.
You mentioned the great British athletes, and you can think of Dina Aisher-Smith, you could think of Gemma and Laura, you could think of KJT. What makes them successful athletes? If you were to try to quantify it, obviously there's talent, there's their coach, their management, their training setup, and there's UK Athletics, the federation. What percentage, I wonder, does the federation contribute to someone's success? I think that's a great question.
I think it's something that I would like to think about this week, and I think we started off for next week because we're down to the last couple minutes. And but I will think about that. And Stuart, we will start off Athletics Chat 31 with that. How does that go?
Yeah.
Okay. Have a safe week, my friend. Thank you again. This is Larry Eater with Stuart Weir. This is Athletic Chat 30. And you guys have survived 30 weeks with us solving the world's athletic problems. Don't you feel better? Stuart, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater, Run Blog Run. This is the epilogue part of Athletics G. Cool, huh? 30 weeks you've been putting up with Stuart Weir in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world, and Larry Eater either in San Jose, California, or Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. This is San Jose, and now I'm in quarantine for 2 weeks, so I'm not going anywhere. So you get to put up with me for 2 exciting weeks. Isn't that fun? All right, kids, here we go. Today we talked about British Athletes of the Year, Jake Whiteman and Gemma Reekie. Jake ran 3:29:47 for 1,500. He is now number 2 on the British all-time list. He's ahead of Mr. Cram, Mr. Coe, and Mr. Ovett. And I just loved the wicked laugh that Tim Hutchings and Mr. Cram had when Jake ran that in Monaco. He was in third place there. It was a brilliant race. And he dabbled in the 800 a bit, got down to 144.18, so a pretty good season for him. Gemma Reekie, this was her big year, a British record in the 800 meters, big wins over indoors and outdoors over 800, and some really, a couple good 1500s as well. She came within, I think, a half second of 4 minutes, and I think those are good picks. The athletes of the year, world athletes of the year, were Armando Duplantis, and Yulimar Rojas. Mondo, 16 competitions, won 16 pole vaults. He has the 616 outdoor, and he has the 618 indoor. They should be 2 world records. Right now, they're just calling it the indoor or outdoor world best. Give him 2 world records. The guy deserves it. He's a star in both parts of our sport, and he deserves to be recognized. Yulimar Rojas is the incredibly leggy, talented, exciting, and emotional triple jumper. And as Stuart said, it's pretty cool and ironic to have a triple jumper win the Athlete of the Year award when the Diamond League, that wonderful group day meets with a couple 2 days in there, London and Pre in the old days, they took the triple jump out. They just brought it back. So Yulimar, I got to watch her jump in Madrid in 2019. She's fantastic. The crowd gets involved with it. She's very into it. She's very, very talented. Was over 15 meters twice this year, with the best being a world indoor best of 15:43. Then our third topic was the Diamond League formats. Back to all 32 events except the hammer throw. The hammer throw will probably be in the Continental Tour stuff. Pavel Fajic was unhappy about that, but there's a lot of very happy 10,000 meter runners, steeplechasers, 200 meter runners, and triple jumpers. So our hats off to the Diamond League for that. Finally, shoes. As Stuart wrote, will all records be broken? Unfortunately, I think so. I think records are made to be broken, but they're not to be made to be broken every other week. And everybody thought probably Helen O'Beary would go it and let's send a day. Giddy did it, and we'll have to see how some of these other athletes answer to that. But the shoes are actually providing shoes from various brands, but a lot of the R is focused on Nike. And should you make shoes that are faster? Of course you should, but there needs to be some rules put in place. And this is just a challenge. So we'll have to see how it goes. We'll be doing a big piece on it the next few days, so I'll let you see what people in the industry think. But it was a very good Athletics Chat 30. I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you to Stuart Weir. Thank you to Mike Deering. If you like RunBlogRun, then like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you really love us, as Sally Field has said, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Larry Eder signing off. Thank you.